Welcome to the Film Rescue Show. I am your Pitchmaster General, Seth. Today I am joined by the professional cynic, Jesse Fresco is here.
Hello!
And the horror whore from Florida joins us today. Hope, how are you?
Now, am I the horror whore because I'm in Florida or because of my horror movies?
Yes, is the answer to that question.
It is horrifying to be in Florida.
Oh, God.
Today we are going round 3 with Duncan Jones on Film Rescue. If you dive back into the archives, you might find Devin and I's early episode for Mute. I think 2 seasons ago we covered Warcraft. Maybe that was 3 seasons ago.
I think it was 3 seasons ago.
It's getting hard to remember at this point. And so now let's wrap up Duncan Jones' filmography with Source Code, guys. How do you feel about that?
Cool.
We're wrapping up.
He hasn't done anything recently, so, you know.
Ever since his dad, he's...
Yeah.
Maybe just needs some time, because I'd love to see him get back into movies. I know that Mute is kind of split the room kind of movie. Warcraft, we'll leave that one as it is. That's a big old... Yeah, it's a big old IP. I don't think we have to worry about that.
It's going to be a franchise, they said almost 7 years ago.
Sure. I'm sure those previs things sit around somewhere of, how they pitched 6 or 7 of those movies. Source Code, though, this is a cool one to have on Film Rescue because it's actually kind of good. Straight out the gate for anybody who was wondering why this one's on Film Rescue. It's not perfect, but we get to walk into this one going, this one's kind of good, right?
Yeah.
It's, as we were saying before, like we started recording, a lot of it's the last part is what fucks it. It's
got short filmitis in the last 20 minutes where it's trying to really rapid punch you with those wrap-ups.
Yeah, because I was like, this is really, it's pretty good so far. And then I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So it's been a hot minute since I've watched. And so on recent rewatch for this, I thought the movie's just about done by the time he catches Derek Frost.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we got to be wrapping up.
Yeah.
Nope. We are not wrapping up.
No. That's we all agree what really kind of undoes the whole movie is the last 20 minutes for various reasons. We'll get into that.
It's a bunch of abdominal punches, man. Hope, what was do you remember the first time you saw this?
Yeah, I do. It was not in theaters. It was but I God, when did Source Code come out again? Because I feel like
2011.
2011. Yeah.
2011. So I think it was someone had it. Like they bought it after it came out. And I was because I remember I was at their house watching. I was at somebody's house watching it. I do know that.
Yeah.
But it was right after it came out. And I thought it was decent. I wasn't thoroughly engaged, but I was like, oh, it's a fine movie. It's decent enough. Just chill movie that we were having while we hung out type of deal.
Yeah. This kind of kept those red box machines alive, didn't they? Back in
honestly, that might have been how I rented. That honestly might have been how I rented it was Redbox.
It kind of feels like one. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, it's just it just feels like simple premise, easy to make, one location. Technically 2 locations. But yeah, it's it all feels kind of constrained. So it's it feels like a cheap Redbox movie, but it's actually pretty good. Until the last minutes.
Yeah, the premise is fantastic. It gets you right into it so quick.
Yeah.
And it feels like one of those early, because early Redbox movies used to be pretty good, too. I know that there was a steep drop-off when Asylum started working with them. But they used to have some pretty good bangers in there. Jesse, did you see this in theaters?
I did see it in theaters.
What was that like?
It was good. It was actually a packed theater. This movie actually made pretty good profit on a budget of, what was it, 30 million? Something like that?
Yeah.
31.9 million, made 147.3 million. That's pretty good. That's really good profit. Really well done. It deserves it. It earned it.
Jake Gyllenhaal and Famiga are the starters of it, so obviously they're going to draw a crowd.
And Gyllenhaal was one of the people that was pushing for Duncan Jones to direct it, because he apparently found the script first, and he said, yeah, this is totally his thing, because he saw Moon and he loved it.
Yeah.
So, and this is one of those scripts that was a blacklisted script. Nobody wanted to make it. Like this
Interesting.
just sat in on a shelf for like
That I
4
didn't
years. Nobody
know.
wanted to touch it. Yeah, nobody wanted to touch it because they're just like, this doesn't make
Wild.
any sense. And I'm just, why people thought it didn't make any sense, guys? It's just Quantum Leap. It's just Quantum Leap. It's literally Quantum Leap to the point where Scott Bakula,
God damn it, Jesse.
Scott Bakula plays his dad on the phone, and even at the end of the movie says, "Oh boy." So for those who don't remember Quantum Leap from the 1990s, it was a little sci-fi show that was on ABC, ran for 5 seasons, and Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell were time travelers. He was able to travel through time and sort of jump into people's bodies, and he kind of solve problems in human history. Little things that might affect big things. And the first season is basically like a play upon major films. Like there's a whole episode where it's about Driving Miss Daisy, and Scott Bakula literally jumps into the body of a black man.
Yeah.
Just ignore it. There's a lot of
It was the
questionable...
80s, man. It was the 80s.
It was the 90s, I think. It was the 90s,
Was it?
I think. I think it was the
I feel
90s.
like that was end of the...
Yeah.
I'll look at that.
But,
Either way.
But anyways, yeah, it's just Quantum Leap. It's a really good show if you can find it. It's hard to find on Blu-ray. The end of the show is that he ends up meeting God and then just jumps off into nowhere and he never gets home. I'm not kidding. It literally ends with him talking to God in a diner.
No, I remember. I had to rewatch it recently to be like, did I dream that episode? The
No,
one
I
where he
did.
goes...
You did. There's a remake TV show. I've never watched it and I've heard it's not very good. But it's apparently a sequel to the original show.
It's a hard premise now, I think. Like it's very body snatchy. It didn't feel that way in the presentation of the show, but it's very body snatchy.
Well, that's the problem is that there's an episode where he jumps into the body of a mentally handicapped person and Scott Bakula says, and I apologize for the word, he says, "Am I retarded?" And he looks at himself in the mirror, he has Down syndrome.
It's one of the most like out of touch,
politically incorrect shows ever made.
This is hurting me, guys. This is hurting
Product of its time. Just let it go.
Yeah, started in 89, ended in 93. So we were both right. It's 80s and 90s.
Yeah. But anyways, this is just Quantum Leap. So I'm not sure why this was a hard sell for a studio.
Yeah,
I'm very confused.
I think you just said it right there, Jesse.
He
Yeah.
jumps into the body of another cis white man.
Just saying.
They kept it as close as possible. They even tried to explain that with some of the science in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how
you're-
it was like rhythmic, like what he would most be suited to, and like his structure and mentality and blah blah blah.
Yeah. So, Hope, what was your recent rewatch like? Now, you knew the twist, obviously, and you may have seen this like more than once since then. But walking in knowing the twist, was there anything that really grabbed you as like, oh, this is actually even better on rewatch?
Better no.
Okay.
Yeah.
What got me was he is supposed to be trained military. He's supposed to be, especially if you're a pilot, you're supposed to pick up on shit very quickly. You have to always be conscientious of everything going around you. And now I know the famous line because the movie has to happen. But he should have picked up on the perpetrator way fucking quicker.
They dropped that guy in front of you a bunch of times from the
Yeah.
start.
And it wasn't even like the very first time he runs into somebody and like in a panic, and she drops her folders because he's trying to get off. And
Yeah.
like he even left his wallet and all this other, like all this shit. Like I don't care who's in a hurry. If you're that much in a hurry to get off a train, like I know, like I've taken it for transit to work and shit before, and like I always had my shit on me because I had to get.
Yeah.
The fact that he's like, I'm like, that's big red flag right there. Not dorky geek trying to get his fucking test studies in. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the kid with the branded Star Wars T-shirt probably doesn't hate America a ton, you know?
Wasn't Duncan Jones attached to do Star Wars or something at one point?
God, I wish.
I don't know. Anyways, it's pretty obvious who it's supposed to be. And if anything, it kind of aged better after January 6th. It's like, yeah, I could buy this now.
Oh, dude, I was like, this movie's a little more based than I remember.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
of course it. Yeah.
Not that it's bad, but like I'm thinking more of in a realistic sense, and I get like he's kind of scrambled because he's trying to remember what he's doing there, how he got there, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, I'm just like, you picked him for more than one reason, other than the fact he's,
Right.
He should have been picking up on shit a lot better than he did.
Yeah.
Especially when they like start to do like how he's like remembering X, Y, and Z, and then he's but I'm like, you picked up on everything that doesn't fucking matter. You remembered the exact second the woman spills the shit on the shoe, but you can't remember that he dropped his wallet. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very like for the purpose of the plot, what he does and doesn't seem to be able to know in any given situation. Because like when he goes for the gun the first time, he could have taken out those 2 security guards if he's got military training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those conductors were both like a little chubby, a little like like
they're
on
not
the job
trained
kind of
for
guys.
that. They're not.
Yeah, like he would have been able to secure that gun. There's a couple moves. I think it's like the second time he starts to chase down Derek Frost, and he just walks after him, and I'm like, run.
There's no reason to not move quickly.
You can just run. You can just run.
He might have been following the practice of Michael Myers, where no matter how slow you are, you still get your victim.
True.
Is it like that Friday the 13th game where he can teleport? Is that how he gets around so quickly?
He's just like, I can sense this.
That is a great game mechanic, though. It really helps sell that aspect. Of
How
the
does
game.
Jason keep showing up? Oh, he can literally teleport. It's all good.
Yes.
Just go with it.
If he can return from the dead,
Yeah, like
Okay.
it's not a
10
huge
times.
leap.
Yeah.
Jesse, how about you? Recent rewatch, knowing the twist. What was it like?
I've kind of realized Gyllenhaal kind of comes off a little unhinged, like a little nuts at times. I'm like, I get you're confused, but this is a little. He's kind of done this in a bunch of different movies where he's played like a very unlikable character.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what was that movie? What was the boxing movie he did? What was it called?
Oh, Southpaw.
Yeah, so he plays a fucking asshole in that
Wait,
movie.
wasn't
God,
he also in The Fighter?
No, that
No,
was Mark Wahlberg.
That
was Mark Wahlberg. Yeah.
Sorry, I was getting those
Marky
two
Mark.
mixed up. I was getting those two mixed up.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of realized, wow, you're kind of a dick.
He likes to play that like sweaty protagonist. He doesn't do. I'm even thinking back to like Prince of Persia, and he's just like kind of a piece of shit through the whole movie.
Why
And
would you go back to that one?
Because that's the pinnacle of like sweaty protagonist performance.
They're in the
like-
desert. Of course, they're gonna be sweaty.
Well, and again, that's I think why he went for the role. Like he likes this kind of like out of breath, just do every scene with like running intensity because it makes everything play really well. Like I believe that he is really intently connected during every 8-minute chunk of train that we get. Like he sells it, but he's got to sweat for it. He looks like a piece of shit because of it.
Well, I'm just looking at like some other shit. Even more recently, The Ambulance.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh,
That's just
yeah,
like
like,
sweaty asshole again.
Well, but he does flip flop between stuff because then he. No, even in Okja, he was the weird, sweaty doctor who wanted to rape a pig.
Yeah.
Like,
What was the what was the movie he did with he was like an EMT dispatcher? Who was that? What was that one? It was a remake.
Oh yeah.
It was a
that
Netflix movie.
He's also a sweaty asshole in that one.
Yeah, he's a corrupt cop. He loves playing
End of
corrupt
Watch.
cops. End of Watch.
yeah,
He's a corrupt
End of-
cop.
He doesn't want to be typecast as a like lead because that's exactly what he is. Like if you cast him in any superhero universe, he just makes sense. Like and there's a reason he's not in any of those kinds of movies. He doesn't want to do that stuff.
Yeah, he was. He
wants-
was in
He's
Far.
super-
He was in Far From
Spider-Man.
Home.
Okay, a one-off villain that they get to kill off, right?
Yeah.
Like again,
Alright.
a sweaty asshole character instead of a lead character. Like he literally will not play that like straight white man lead. He only wants to do these kind of like weird characters, and I kind of respect the decision because he looks like a lead.
Yeah. Just even thinking back to some of his older stuff, like Brothers or oh, but I loved him in Brokeback.
Different kind
yeah,
of sweaty.
different kind of sweaty.
Just saying.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it about him. I love that he won't take those roles, and then you get an Okja thrown in there, and it's like, holy shit, dude, you could do anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think of his first 2 big movies: Donnie
that Vanilla
Darko and
Sky?
Bubble Boy.
Bubble Boy.
Oh God.
Yeah, he did.
Donnie
October
Darko's
Sky,
the
but,
genesis of the sweaty protagonist.
Yeah, but then he did Bubble Boy.
Trying to
Wild.
work an actor at the time, didn't have a lot of options.
I've never seen Bubble Boy.
Really?
You don't need to.
Oh, it's a skip?
I feel like it's like you have to just to say you've done it. It's really dumb, but you'll get a chuckle.
Hope there's also a thing to say, hey, I sat on a nail. Like, yeah, I did it. Didn't mean I wanted to do it.
Hey, look, you're talking to the girl who owns Star Wars Holiday Special.
What a choice.
Wow.
See, that is one of those that I think is like, that's, you have to do it once, but I will not watch it a second time. I've seen the Holiday Special. I know it's in it now. I'm good.
But I own it. Didn't pay for it, but I own it.
Good.
Well,
Good,
let's
you didn't pay for it.
let's slide through some of the positives of this film, stuff we want to keep around for our pitch later.
Let's say what did you find most positive, Seth? I feel like you're always the guru of goodness. Like,
yeah, I'm really impressed that the train sequences are all 8 minutes or less. Every single train sequence is 8 minutes or less. Super. As an editor, I'm going, that's like, holy shit, dog. Like, that's hard to do. I've really respected the movie for that. I think the like overall presentation, like the way the movie kind of clips along. Case brought this up on the Star Trek episode. That like movies like this really kind of ask you to just move with the energy of the movie and just kind of keep you tumbling down the track. And so I like, this is kind of a long-winded way to say that I really appreciate that it's a tight 90, but goddamn, there's a lot of movie in this movie for 90 minutes. Like they get in and out of the train a bunch. There's a whole area dedicated to like his consciousness in between source codes here, which again might be something I'd change a little bit in the rescue, but like the idea still executes well. So I just everything on display for like a $30 million little movie from a decade ago. I'm happy to just kind of be talking about it because it's cool. It's got issues, but there's a lot of cool shit in here.
As you're saying, the idea is good. You know, it's fun. It's in there. It's going. You know, it's like I was saying earlier. I think the biggest thing is I enjoyed it. Yeah, there's like little things here and there I would change, but that's coming from like personal background experience. You know, it's up until like the last 15. You know, that's the biggest thing we need to save. I honestly believe it's just like that.
Yeah. How to repitch this.
Yeah, because honestly, like him going through the motions, learning everything, it's sort of detective film, sort of action film, and I dig that, you know. And you have like your sci-fi in it because he's like this dude going in a body, you know. There is, but it all. I think they cast it very well, you know.
Oh yeah, Michelle Moynihan is just excellent. She's so like charismatic through this role.
Yeah.
It would be a thankless role otherwise. She's literally just cute girl on the train, but like she's a whole ass character in this. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was just everyone knew their role, so to say, and I liked that. I got no real complaints until the end. That's the thing. Like, it was all really good until the end.
Jesse, how about you? What are some positives for you? I guess sans. We'll save getting into the end of it for the negative half of the review.
I mean, the fact that they try to explain the science of it, and as logical a way as they can.
Yeah.
It's best they can do.
They really kind of spell it out for you about halfway there, where it's like, this is 8-minute recurring chunks. Just get happy with that idea.
Yeah.
They tried something. Don't know how really you're able to do that with dead people, but okay. But in
Yes
terms
and
of
no, but
it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Like I said, it's tight 90. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It clips along pretty quick. I feel like the visual effects sometimes are a little dodgy, but most of the time they're pretty good.
There was one shot of when they arrest the guy on the bridge, and I was like, is that whole thing CGI? Did they CGI the entire like arrest in the van? Because it looked like one of those like kind of zoomed out CGI shots like pasted onto a TV somewhere.
I was gonna say the shot where he jumps out of the train and like tumbles down.
I was gonna say you could have done that with like a dummy, but and it would have looked better than.
Yeah, it looks a little weird. Yeah,
it's not masked in there very well, and that's us talking 12 years later with AI tech that can help us in our After Effects now. So
yeah.
The movie could use a re-release. It could use a little CGI touch-up re-release. I think that'd be cool.
Touch it up a little bit. Yeah.
There's a couple shots of Jeffrey Wright that are like, the lighting's not great. You can tell it was just kind of like, we just need to get this cut away real quick.
Yeah.
But again, he's the same kind of person too. He's like Jake Gyllenhaal though in his roles. Like he does that like awkward. He's always that
sleazy
awkward person. Like
brooding intellectual.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the word.
I know more than I need to know, and I have to make really difficult decisions. But he plays it well. Like, I'm not mad at anybody here.
Like I said,
the score.
It's all good.
I really think the score pops on this movie too. It's got like an old school like big thriller kind of feel to it, where it's all orchestral and big and trying to like, it's all set in a train, but it doesn't feel like you're stuck in a train car.
Yeah, remind me a little bit of The Fugitive, a little bit. Of Yeah, it's a quality, well-made movie. In terms of like constructing a film, you could do way worse. It's a good-looking movie. It's well done, looks good, it sounds good. It's just like we've said, it's that last 20 minutes that undoes all of it.
Yeah.
Well, let's peel it back and let's move through the plot a little bit. What doesn't work for you guys in this movie? What specifically is really getting in your craw at the end of the movie here?
Mr. Cynic, I can tell you're ready to rip it, so go.
One, the love story makes no sense because they only knew each other for 8 minutes. That's one problem. Two, what happened to Sean Fentress's personality? Is he just being taken over by Jake Gyllenhaal at this point? What happened to that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing, was even in that alternate reality, whatever, like, so that guy just, did he die? Did he get taken over permanently? Because, like, Jake Gyllenhaal's character does not know history and is not a teacher.
No.
This has weird Wonder Woman 88 vibes of like,
Wonder Woman 84.
84, yeah. This is a bad ethical decision at the end of this movie.
Yep, body hopping and just using it to your own advantage. That's a little questionable.
And something I will even go back and compliment the movie for, it goes out of its way to establish that Sean is a real guy. Like, that he has been interacting with these people. Like, the shadow of Sean still exists in the movie, which makes it even creepier that we just never interact with him at all as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what they should have done? Put him in the body of a dead person. Remember in Doctor Strange 2 when he jumps into his...
He was dead, technically. That's how they structured this.
But here's the other thing. Was he, though? Because the resolution of the movie is that source code hasn't really been run yet.
Yeah, true.
Like he was running source code enough to predict this terrorist attack. So it's not a prevention thing now. It is it ends up being a prediction model at the end. So Sean Sean has not died at this point.
Yeah. So if you keep doing this
movies
over and over and over and over and over again, does it mean like Coulter is going to be like taking over like everybody on the planet? His consciousness just goes into everybody's brain, and this is him interacting with himself, but nobody wants to acknowledge it.
But that's where they contradict themselves, because at the beginning, the event already happened. Everyone's already dead.
Yeah.
That's why, and they're saying this is a series, and they're trying to prevent this series from happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're explaining, oh, that's a shadow. It's an alternate. So, at what point does it become an alternate? At one point does it become reality? And they didn't really explain that, and that's what's the big thing, you know, because we all know all the movies with like all their timeline shit. You know, don't kill a fucking cockroach in the prehistoric days, because then we'll be taken over by shoe-billed storks in the present day. Like, you know, like, when does that change?
So the movie presents itself as a loop. It wants you to understand that the end events of the film are technically the beginning of the film. So the idea that the first explosion on the train has not happened yet is the reveal of the end of the film, is that it has not happened and will not happen, and that through source code somehow he's able to move Coulter's body into Sean's permanently by preventing the attack. That's the text of the film. I rewatched it twice to make sure I was following correctly.
But the Jeffrey Wright says this is not an alternate reality, it's just a shadow. But then at the end of the movie, he creates an alternate reality.
Yeah.
So basically Jeffrey Wright was wrong.
Jeffrey wrong.
Yeah. He was Jeffrey wrong. But that's
correct. It's thundering in Florida as we record this one for all of our listeners and watchers. For the watchers, actually get to see a dog. So if you're listening on the podcast, switch to YouTube. You can see the dog in this. It's free dog content.
Yeah. Fuck the podcast. Let's just watch my dogs go crazy.
Listen, when I stream on Kick, I've got the kitty cam set up. Like, people can just watch the cats in the cat bed down here beside me. I think it's content. So the movie's a loop according to itself. That's what I want to fix about it when we get to the fix. I think that if the movie went out of its way to better explain that Coulter is the one running source code and that it's never been in Jeffrey Wright's hands, the movie becomes a lot easier to digest as to what happened. It gets to remain a quantum leap technically, but it does not make sense as a loop onto itself.
Yeah.
I think we should see the creation of the loop, and then the end of the movie is implying, hey, this will just keep coming back on itself eventually, but you are seeing the initial version of it. That's
so like Primer, basically.
Yeah, a little more like Primer, absolutely.
I'm gonna shut the door real quick.
Oh, please.
Okay.
I think just the reveal at the end is the part that doesn't work. That's the only part that really just doesn't function. The rest of the movie functions so well, getting you from scene to scene, that there's no issues functionally from scene to scene. But when you get to the end, it's the reveals that aren't working. That's why I say it had kind of short film-itis, that it's kind of like short films try to just pack a ton into the last minute, and it's like, you don't have to. If I enjoyed the last 5 minutes, you don't have to pack all that in.
This could have been like 75 minutes, and I would have been happy.
It could literally end with him like ending the getting the bomb. I guess when he calls in the bomb from Derek's phone, that functionally could be the end of the story.
Honestly, the first time I watched it, I thought as soon as she hit like the button to end his life, that should have just been it.
Yeah.
Like, let him kiss the girl, whatever. Let him save it, and honestly, I would have been happy because that could have been like his thought. Like, okay, this is my gift to you. You thinking you save these people. Not, okay, it's a new reality. And I think that would have made more sense. Like, give him his last wish, so to say, but without giving it to him.
Yeah, that's the cynical ending, right? The just like, okay, you get to die, but you get to die in your like source code heaven where you get functionally, I guess, this kind of make believe life, maybe in another universe. That it leaves it ambiguous. Yeah, it leaves it ambiguous enough that I would watch a sequel of like a different person going through this.
Right,
Yeah.
because, it's not a perfect technology. It's not, this is the first time they used it, so they could, like, build up on it. Like, oh, well, when we ran the program with Coulter, or...
Yeah. I mean, I think really the tail end of this movie is just so you can have Jeffrey Wright say, someday source code will become useful and very active. It's like, it is active. They just don't know it because they're in another reality. It's like, I love that little twist. Like, oh, it's actually working. You just don't know it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but is it?
Hubris.
Yeah.
It's his hubris of thinking that like he has the understanding of it. That's what's kind of proved across the movie is like he doesn't even get what this tech is, and Coulter is figuring out what the tech is a lot faster and going, no, I'm pretty sure this is dropping me into other realities, and we're just killing off a train of worth of realities every time I do this. Which is even more frightening. I think the movie could have gotten away with presenting that more forward.
Yeah.
Like now there's blood on our protagonist's hands for like not having caught up faster, like you pointed out, Hope. Like for him, there's consequences for him to not put the pieces of the puzzle together. Because
now there's like 20 realities with all these dead people instead of like 5.
Right.
Yeah.
I have one major complaint from early in the movie. It's the only part of the movie that I was like really jerked out of until the end.
What's up?
When he dies getting hit by the fucking train. That is the most the most convenient death I think I've ever seen.
So, okay, I was pissed because here's the thing. There's no train, like not even the light rail in Baltimore works like that. Like it's not gonna, when it's a train like that, when that's not how it works, especially if he's like planning it with the freighter going the opposite direction when he blows up the bomb like that. There's not going to be 2 trains on the same
No, yeah, the scene geography's all wrong. They're coming in
wrong. And
towards the city, and then the other train comes in on the same track that the other train just left from.
Yeah. And the fact is, like, if that was my friend, they were just sitting there. 3 people could have jumped down and like grabbed him and gone real quick.
Yeah,
they're
the
just
two
like,
it's not like the light
oh,
rail.
No. Just fucking grab his ass.
It's not like the subway where there's a third rail. That's not the same thing. So
I don't know if you guys rewatch trailers for the movies as well when we do these.
No.
It's the Inception shot. It's the Inception shot, and they put it in the trailer in the same way where it's this like, oh no, who is this person getting hit by a train? It's got like hardcore Inception vibes.
Oh
did this come out the same year as Inception?
No, 2 years
year
later.
Or the year after? Yeah.
No, Inception was like 2009, 2010.
Was it?
Inception's 2010. Yeah.
2010.
There it is.
They were like, oh, this is a trippy thing about people going into dreams. You got to make it more like Inception.
That's probably why this movie got greenlit, because they're like, oh, Inception's really big. What do we have? What do we have in our file cabinets?
Absolutely.
So, at least Inception gave us that. So
I think I like this better than Inception. I've watched this more than I've seen Inception for sure.
It's faster, shorter.
Yeah,
exactly. Also, I like Jake Gyllenhaal more than Leonardo DiCaprio. That's personal taste, but
Loved Wolf of Wall Street though.
Oh, I can like Leo for sure, absolutely. But like throw a dart at the wall, I'm going to like the Gyllenhaal movie more.
Oh
year to year, I'm almost always going to like the Gyllenhaal movie more.
Yeah.
And then he made Life, and it was like, well, at least we got him and Ryan Reynolds together.
Oh, that was
What
a
a
movie.
pair.
That was a movie.
Why wasn't that a prequel to Venom?
Yeah.
Like-
ooh. Sony,
like,
what are
really?
you doing over there, guys?
I have no idea. But yeah, it's not this. I don't. Let's get into the thing that we all really want to talk about.
Yeah,
Let's get
yeah.
into the last 20 minutes of this movie fucking sucks, and it undoes the whole movie
Yeah.
because it drags really bad, and it's a lot. It's like denouement on top of denouement on top of denouement over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's way too chipper and upbeat and happy at the end for such a dark movie.
I was gonna say the one thing that kept throwing me off was another thing that plays into this. If it's supposed to be alternate realities or whatever, why was he getting flashbacks, so to say, of his perfect ending, even in the first go around?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Because they
the
showed her
Chicago Bean and all that.
Yeah, I'm like, and at first, when like upon first glance, I was thinking like, okay, maybe this is like Sean's memories, like that he had with Christina initially. Like
Ooh,
maybe
that's an
he's
interesting
like
theory.
tapping into his memories, like, and maybe that's what's affecting Jake Gyllenhaal's character. Like, oh, well, this body I'm in has an attachment to this person. Maybe that's why I feel the attachment as well. And not just, oh, you're a nice person I met 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
That's what threw me off. So even if he finally got to this alternate reality where he got what he wanted, why was he already seeing the alternate reality?
Yeah, I think, again, because the movie wants us to believe that it's a loop. That's why it's trying to forgive that. But I agree that that's what hurts the movie. It breaks the logic of the film overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, and like I said before, oh, is it because he's in this person's body? Is that why he likes her? Or is he just literally the most helpless romantic on the planet and can fall in love in 5 seconds?
Yeah, I love the way he calls out these like really topical aspects of her character. It's like, oh, you're decent, and that's like part of him falling in love with her.
Like, is his standards that low?
You're decent. I like that about you.
That's strange.
Jesse, you're
like I
so
said,
decent.
Like I said, the love story in this makes no sense. It really doesn't make any sense.
It should not have been a thing. It should have ended with like, I don't know. It should not have been a thing.
I agree. I think it could have stayed flirty without it being like a major driving force within it.
It causes all kinds of ethical problems by the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
God, yes.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't know that this is actually another guy.
Yeah. Is that okay? I mean, to
like,
her, she wouldn't really know his personality either, though. Like, she really only topically knows Sean.
But it's kind of like the same thing as Wonder Woman 1984. It's like it's another guy inside another guy's body.
Oh no, absolutely.
It's the same problem. It's the same problem.
Yeah. It's weird. It's strange when you think about like the ethical effects, and then also like the ethicality of them being able to kill or keep him alive. Like, I feel like that could have been a much more important part of the movie, that like a military installation gets to decide if a soldier dies. That feels weird to me.
Yeah.
That they're even able to do
like,
that.
It'd be one thing if they had established like, hey, before you died, you had signed this contract and to be a part of a certain operation, you know, if you were to, but there's none of that. Like, that could have been part of the last 20 minutes, like how he asked her, like, hey, I want to die, you know, and she right there, they could have been like, well, what we didn't also tell you is, like, when you were alive, quote unquote, you did volunteer for this, like, black op secret thing, and you're kind of under contract for at least X amount of missions or whatever. And then that could have just been, like, her morality coming into play, saying, all right, you kind of served 8 missions with this one mission, you know? So, like, that would have been a better ending of playing the morality versus, oh, I'm going to let him have a happy ending. Like,
yeah. I'm going to not actually kill him because he already experienced this through source code before we knew it.
Right.
Yeah. If they had it, like, under contract, they should have said, like, well, yeah, you're still going to work with us. We're going to wipe your memory, but you'll get, like, a massive, like, bonus package for your father of, like, $1 million or something like that. Some incentive to keep doing it.
Something like, okay, well, you know, or like you said, an incentive package, like, since apparently he's so close with, but then he wasn't really close with his dad, apparently. He just, after dying, was close.
Yeah, he had his regrets at that point.
Yeah, it was his regret. So maybe it wouldn't be for his dad that he wanted this shit. It could have been, okay, your favorite, something. There's
it could have been to, like, help the families of the people on the train. Like, he could have been a little more altruistic and be like, well, if I'm gonna be fucking stuck in here with them on an 8-minute repeat, then let me do something useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have
one other thing.
Go ahead.
There's one edit that I really, really like in this movie. It's the moment when Coulter is asking Vera Farmiga to let him go back in, and then it cuts to the computer screen, and you see it. He's not actually talking to her directly.
Yeah,
it's just text.
I did like that a lot.
I was like, oh, that's a kick in the ass. Like, he can't even really talk to her. It's just text on the screen.
So brutal. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they've explained, like, he's dead, and they were hinting at it because she's like, your container is all your mind processing it. Your body is all just your mind processing this, you know?
Which I understand why they decided to go that way. I have a much cleaner way to do exactly that same thing. It's also darker though, but
I like dark.
My pitch is a little darker than the movie we got. I had to try to, I had to try to outdo it a little.
I think the movie itself needs to go a little darker.
Yeah. I think it, going darker also allows you to go a little, like, off into the weeds a bit too. Like, the fact that he mentioned threatening to send a pizza to Dr. Rutledge, that should have been the payoff. Like, the last shot of the movie.
What if he actually did it and it got there and
But again, like, and he's not aware that source code works, so he's just like, a pizza, cool. And it's just like, you fucking idiot. It would be such a great, like,
that,
jab.
Or not even that, but just have, like, a very last, like, before the end of the credits or something, just have a pizza dude in front of this military base, like, is this the right address?
That's funnier. That's way funnier.
It's like that scene in the Ninja Turtles movie. It's like,
right.
It's like, where's 122 and 8? You're standing on it, dude.
That's your Scott Bakula cameo. It's Scott Bakula holding a pizza outside of the military base, going like, I don't know if I got the right address. Jordy, bring me back home.
Oh gosh.
I have a minor grievance with the movie. It's just a nitpick, but the way they show Jake Gyllenhaal in the chamber and his exposed brain is just sitting against the bed, that would not allow your brain to operate. If you put pressure onto different parts of the brain, it hurts your brain. That's like why tumors are bad for us in our brain, because it moves shit around that shouldn't get pressed on.
Yeah.
And it's easy to fix. He just needs to be upright. Just make the container upright, and then his head can, just kind of bobble around and stuff. But it just bugged me to see an exposed brain with wires just resting onto a bed. I was like, no.
They could have gone like classic Ghost in the Shell. How like all their plugs are through their neck, through the brain stem. not into.
Yeah.
Because obviously where it's plugged in, it's the fucking occipital lobe that it's plugged into. That's where you can like process seeing shit. Why the fuck do they need this? Like it should be like his frontal and temporal lobes for like his comprehension and language and shit. Not like he has no eyes to see with. Who cares?
Yeah.
And maybe this is a good time to point out the guy that wrote this, Ben Ripley. He also wrote the new Flatliners remake.
Oh yeah.
So he's very interested in this like soul space, the area between being alive and dead. Like this is something that he's really interested in.
Yeah. And by the way, with regard to Flatliners, it will never be on Split the Difference. Both of them are not very good. So
There's
no reason.
I like the old one. Dude, there's not many movies where you get Kevin Bacon and Kiefer Sutherland just like trying not to kiss each other. They want to fuck each other so bad in that movie.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, the sexual angst of the 80s.
Yeah.
That
Here's a way you could have. Here's what you could do with Gyllenhaal's body in this movie. You guys ever seen that movie Martyrs?
Oh my!
Shut
Christ.
the fuck up, Jesse.
Remember the scene where she gets all of her skin ripped off and they put her into that Jello vat and she's like just kind of like floating? There you go.
Dude, I mean, dark, but like it's a great visual, right?
Yeah, it's either that or a brain in a jar, like RoboCop 2.
Ooh, brain in a jar is scary. That is that's a hard one to mentally process. It's so claustrophobic.
Can't close your eyes at all at any point.
Gross.
Yeah.
But yet we love Futurama.
Well, have you guys been watching any of the new season?
Yes.
Dude, it's good. It like I really was expecting it to be different, like even a little. It's not. It's just same old Futurama. I love it.
It's great.
I mean, it's a continuation. It picks up where they left off.
Listen, I'm the one with the Bender tattoo on my ass out of the three of us.
Hey, I have a Planet Express hoodie. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Committed to the bit.
Yeah.
Any other issues with the film we think worth bringing up before we go into a pitch?
I mean, there was kind of a weird preoccupation with like Groundhog Day movies around this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this, Edge of Tomorrow. I think there was a couple of those in there as well. Primer came out not too long before this.
Mm-hmm.
We really wanted to like.
Yeah, we're just beating a dead horse at this point, though. You know, it's
the
same issues, just put in a different text.
Yeah. Like I think at that time we were really interested in the idea of being able to like undo the past. You know, we didn't want to. That's the avoidance part of grief post 9/11 because this is like a very politically almost aligned movie, like it I mean they even address like, oh, that's racial profiling when he's looking right at the Middle Eastern guys. Like, yeah, it's like but of course they can't do that because that'd be considered racist and it would lean into racial profiling, so it has to be the white guy. Although after January 6th it makes more sense now. I took that as a jab at that one show that was on at this time. What was it called? It was like that super right-wing show about hunting Osama bin Laden, and the female lead ends up being like part of the terrorists and
Homeland.
Homeland.
With Claire Danes. Oh yeah, I watched the first episode and I was like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, this feels
was like
very
anti or something. Yeah.
Yeah, this one felt very anti-Homeland. It wanted to like make fun of that idea.
Yeah, Homeland. I think the producer of that was also the person that did 24.
Yeah, so that tracks.
Makes sense,
dude.
You can totally fly from LA to Washington D.C. in an hour in a helicopter. Totally.
Well, you can if you're the president.
Yeah, of course. It makes perfect sense.
Right.
3,000 miles.
No problem.
Again, what I always say is, at least it gave South Park good material.
Ooh. Well, I know this is going to be a shorter episode because it would suck if we did an episode longer than the movie itself.
I was just about to say
that puts us under the wires. But my pitch is dark, simple, and additive, and these are my favorite kinds of pitches. I want to add Sean into this story.
Yes.
Same.
I think that. So major fix number one, this is not a loop. This is the beginning of a loop. Like, we're going to learn to understand that source code is actually creating these alternate universes. I want to keep that twist. But this is the first time that they're discovering that. That's my change for the movie. And the reason that I wanted to add Sean in is because I think Sean and Coulter's brains should be connected to each other.
Possessor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Possessor.
Yeah.
Possessor.
Sean's body is connected to Coulter's body in Chicago. They're in Vegas for some reason. I don't think that's necessary. I want to maybe tease the idea that maybe every city has like a source code project that's getting started in them, and this is just the Chicago one. So they have Sean's body post terrorist attack, and they've connected it to Coulter, and Coulter doesn't know that this is his job, right? Because he gets his mind wiped, and so he has source coded before. But in the events of the movie, he's come to realize that as he gets his memories back, he also realizes that he, across his previous source codings, has realized that they're making real alternate universes. That's why he's real messed up about the people on this train dying, because he knows they're actually dying each time. It's not like the simulation is what they're viewing on the outside, but he is actually going to these alternate realities.
Right.
So every time they punch him in, he knows these people are dying. So that's the reveal across the movie, that he starts to recognize, oh, if that is the case, if I can get Vera Farmiga, or whatever her character's name was, to end me, Goodwin. If I can get Goodwin to end me in a good timeline, it'll sever the source code. And then I will functionally be able to be over here. And it'll be okay because I'm connected to Sean, and there's only 8 minutes of Sean left in here. He's dead for real, right? So we know that we're just occupying his body in another universe because he is fully dead over here. Through this, though, the additive, the dark part, is I want Sean to be the reason why Coulter keeps fucking up. Because Sean's consciousness can actually
like
be
the
awake.
Part, yeah.
Exactly. It can be awake during this 8-minute period. So the functional ethical issue for Coulter becomes like, I also need to let these people know that these guys are still alive in here while I'm doing all this functionally. And so it's like, it's going to hurt other people's brains if you keep plugging them into people like this. It's not good for us to do this. So he kind of uses, I think adding that layer of like him using the opportunity to sever the source code into a different universe allows for this ending where like we don't see that the events haven't happened, but we see that they recognize that they're creating these alternate universes as they do this, and that they can maybe prevent these terrorist attacks in the future. I think the showing a prevented terrorist attack in the movie only makes sense for Coulter. I think showing that it also affected the rest of the real world was kind of odd. We needed some kind of separation between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned earlier about the way they kind of visualized his in-between space. I think he should just be waking up in his bed.
Yeah.
I think that's...
That whole situation where... I also wish they would have explained that you mentioned that. Like, that whole weird part where, like, it got super freezing, and it was, like...
Yeah. Is he, like, dying?
Like, was that, like, his brainstem not being connected to the life support, or like that? That's another reason I wish they would have just taken an extra 5 minutes of that ending and put it to their, like, oh, the life support system shutting down the electricity, the neurons to his brain we're trying to stimulate, is the connection severed. Something like that. That was really confusing.
It was where I kind of left with that was that when he gets killed by the train, the movie is kind of visually suggesting that was an important event, and it was jarring for him to die differently than the way that he's died previously. Like he can't escape that 8 minutes regardless of what he does, he has to die somehow, and that it's more jarring to go against it and die not in the explosion. That was what I kind of took out of it. I agree. Like, if you like that,
be nice if they said that.
Yeah, if you like that as a mechanic, I'm happy to like add that into our version to make it official.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of read it that way, that like him dying outside of the train is more jarring and could actually threaten his life back in the pod.
Yeah. What if something like those time paradoxes are causing like severe like brain trauma to him?
Ooh, I like that.
There's a thing in the Dark Tower books where the end of the first book, Roland lets Jake, who's the kid he's kind of bringing with him through on his journey, Jake dies falling off a bridge.
Oh my God.
And then in the end of the second book, he goes through a time portal and then rescues Jake again and brings him from his world into ours.
Oh, weird.
Or from Jake's world into Roland's world. And what happens is that causes a time paradox because it, it basically means essentially when you die in the Dark Tower universe, you go to Midworld, that's Roland's world. It's like the two worlds are on top of each other.
Okay.
Jake therefore didn't die. So how is it that Roland has memories of him dying?
Yeah.
So he has these two separate realities in his brain. It's like he did die, but he didn't die, but he did die, but he didn't die. So it's causing severe brain trauma. And so he has to go back to our world again to fix it to stop him from dying the way he was going to die originally.
No,
and the way he died was that he got pushed in front of a train.
Wild.
So there you go. Nice coincidence.
Wraps it up with a bow. No, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Him splitting time in two different realities is hurting his brain, and then Sean is like the axe slicing down between the middle of it in our added version.
Yeah.
Because I want Sean to actually have feelings for Christina. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see this character like express these things to Coulter so that Coulter can like not fuck up this guy's life. You know what I mean? Maybe there's like an exchange of information as they cross in between where we get these scenes with Sean and Coulter.
And that would explain the love connection more
Exactly.
so than just, hi, you're decent.
Right, you're decent.
I think that's just going to be the motto of this movie. You're decent.
Yeah.
This is a decent movie.
This is a
Can I
decent
point out
movie.
some? Can I point out something that was kind of weirding me out? Was it just me, or did Michelle Monaghan have like really weird airbrushing on her face? Like her face looked a little too shiny and too clean. Was that just me?
I noticed like some of the shooting in general was kind of like
Yeah, I think
like
it was
smudged
over-
like
overly
that.
bright.
across
Yeah,
the
yeah.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed it on Jeffrey Wright. I don't know if it was color balanced correctly. I think that's the overall issues, like it because they tried to warm tone the real world and cold tone source code. So like when
Yeah.
you're on the train, it's more blue, and then it switches to like orangey red when you go out into the real world. But I think they also color toned Christina to the real world throughout the film. Like they put an orange hue on her. So
As like a
I think
connector. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Again, like there are some interesting visual choices in this movie. Yeah.
But it's decent.
It's decent.
It's decent. When I put this episode up, that's gonna be the tagline. It's decent.
Yeah, it's decent.
And and my other change is I want to keep that Scott Bakula pizza delivery cameo. That's like a that's like a post credit.
Yes.
I think that would be absolutely awesome. Yeah, no recasting needed across the whole thing. Everybody fits fine. Happy to keep Duncan Jones directing. I just would like maybe restitch a little bit of this to maybe make it not hurt itself on its way out. You know that thing in Pokemon where like your Pokemon can accidentally injure themselves. I think that's what this movie does on its exit. It just accidentally punches itself in the balls. Yeah, it hurt itself in the confusion. Trying to explain not time travel reality jumping.
No, my
I will say
my favorite thing is, oh, your Pokemon missed the attack. It's a fucking Snorlax. Anyway,
I will say with the end of the movie, the sappiness of the ending.
Yeah.
I would excise that entirely.
Yeah, that's kind of undone with this ending. I mean, like, it's a little sappy, I guess, for Coulter to be able to get into his own timeline, and I do feel like he deserves that for going out of his way to save people on a train. I think it should be absolutely clear.
A dude, like
yeah, like make it absolutely clear he's not hijacking this guy's life, and that like this is a very first date situation for him. Like he's not. Him doing this for the sake of saving the people on the train is enough. That's enough. That's what heroes do. You know, like that's just
what he wanted. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could kind of have the love story as well, because if Ventress is still cognizant and aware of what Coulter is doing the entire time, Ventress could still be falling in love with her, and so then when Coulter finally dies, Ventress retakes his own body and he's still technically in love with her. So he kind of gets them together.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go. So
like a wingman.
Kills two birds with one stone.
Right.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Everybody gets what they want.
And then back in the like original timeline, you have Sean and Coulter's dead bodies, which I just think is so cool. Like it's such a dark way to like, yeah, the world where they decide to kill soldiers, that one just stays dark. That timeline stays dark, and then Coulter's found a way to like jump into a different timeline that's maybe a little nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Well, that kind of splits it right down the middle. That's my pitch. That there's not a ton that you have to fix here. Just kind of take out some of the weird. Yeah, this is the second time we're doing this weird ethical body snatching thing in a fix for a movie. Stop doing this to us, guys.
Yeah. Why do people think this is okay?
I don't.
Why does anybody think this shit's okay?
Dude, I would not want to inherit someone else's body. You know, like just one body, one consciousness. That's enough for me, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if
that's
they're gonna
all
do
I
that,
need.
do like a body switch, not like a fucking
Freaky Friday kind of
Ooh,
thing.
oh, maybe we could add that.
To Pring.
Ooh, what if that's the end? What if Sean's consciousness ends up staying in Coulter so that they can keep the program going?
And they just like fucking domino swap out.
Yeah, exactly. And then he can jump into the next guy, and then he teaches the next guy like, okay, so this is how it works in source code. The last guy gets your body, you get the next body. You got to help all these people, and it's just Quantum Leap at that point. It is literally just Quantum Leap at that point.
Yeah.
Just hope you don't jump into the body of a mentally handicapped person or a quadriplegic.
Shut up, Jesse.
It's
the mistakes of the 90s come back to haunt us.
The mistakes of the 90s.
Anything,
the mistakes of the 90s.
What would be funnier is if they jumped into the body of like some like a serial killer on death row or some shit. Like, oh, we fucked up.
Dude, rough.
and the movie just like every episode of Quantum Leap. Oh boy, credits.
Oh boy. Well, that's how we'll end this one too. That's our pitch. Maybe we retitle this movie Quantum Leap though, just for the clicks.
I would make this kind of like a backdoor Quantum Leap kind of thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This is a Quantum Leap prequel where it's like in the early days of like, we don't have the Quantum Leap program quite made yet, but we have an early idea of it.
I kind of like that.
Okay.
I kind of like that. Yeah.
Explains why Scott Bakula is around.
Quantum Leap, starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Why not?
If it makes $150 million, I'm happy. We still get a TV show out of it, you know?
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for this one. Thank you guys both for being here and checking out this 90-minute little crunch for a really decent episode of the Film Rescue Set.
It's decent.
Fucking decent.
I like it. It's decent.
I'm making shirts, Film Rescue Show. It's decent.
If someone wants to go leave a review on one of those podcast apps that you're listening on, just give us a 5-star decent. 5 stars. Decent.
Guys,
actually,
please do. I want to read these reviews.
I'm going to go review this movie on Letterboxd today. And so if you're listening, go check out my review. It'll be decent.
It's decent.
You can check out our link tree for all of our socials, and please continue listening. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for joining us on this half of the adventure. It's been fun to get video versions of us out. We can do things like show off our pets.
Yeah, God damn it. Yes, I'm sorry that I'm in Florida where it's fucking torrential thunderstorms and my dogs need to defend the house from the thunder.
Harvey made a little cameo too. I pointed her out
Yeah.
halfway.
Not gonna lie, it kind of like flipped me out for a second because I was like, my door's shut. How did my dog get? Oh wait, that's on Seth's.
He quantum leaped over here. That's so funny. Oh my god.
If you saw my face go like, what? That was why. And I was like, that's not my. Oh.
It's like the old Super Mario games where you can walk off the side and then you come back in on the other side.
Yes.
They can just quantum tunnel through. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. Thank you both for being here so much. Thank you guys for listening. Oh boy, it was decent.
Oh,
Good night.
It's decent. Good night.
see ya.